Racing to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies, let's take a look back at the American Pharoah Stakes and the Chandelier Stakes this past weekend at the great race place, Santa Anita. Let's start with the fillies. And in the Chandelier Stakes, your 1-5 favorite was Bast. The daughter of Uncle Mo was impressive in the Del Mar debutante, and she came back, got a new jockey in this one, Hall of Famer John Velasquez, and he guided her to a record-setting 661 graded stakes win for John. But the talk of the track was the filly, Bast, and on a slow, deep, tiring track, Bast was able to track in that third position, kind of ranged up on the leaders, confidently ridden the whole race by JR, and really she engaged with Comical at the top of the stretch. Those two dueled to the wire with Bast getting the victory by about half a length officially on the wire. I thought this was an impressive effort for Comical, and that's what really made the race. If Bast would not have gotten that little bit of a test and tussle with Comical, it may have been too easy of a victory for her to kind of get her tightened up for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies. Overall, again, I like the tactical speed she's shown in all three of her races. She's shown that she can finish, and then she showed a little bit of grit to finish off and defeat Comical. I imagine Comical will move on to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and should be an interesting race. We've got the big races from Keeneland and the Frazette Stakes coming up from Belmont this weekend. So we'll see kind of where they all fit right now. But one of the most impressive debut victories of the year may have been Donna Veloce. She picked up a huge victory Saturday at Santa Anita. And I think between her and Bast, that's where your Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies may come as we get closer to the race. We'll have to see. Donna Veloce right now might be pointing to that Breeders' Cup Juvenile filly. She was another daughter of Uncle Mo, and she just dominated her maiden race. A bet down to 1-5, cruised to the lead right away, really just strided out. And she just had that thing where she just kind of galloped on air. I don't know what her long-term distance pedigree profile really says, but right now she's sharp, and you got to strike while the iron is hot. Meanwhile, in the American Pharoah Stakes, 8 rings went off at 6-5, and he went off at 6-5 because he threw his rider in the Del Mar Futurity. Otherwise, he may have been 2-5 or 1-5 like Bast. He dominated a maiden victory. That was probably the most impressive maiden victory by a colt this year when he won back at Del Mar. So 8 rings, named after Bill Belichick, who's got 6 rings as a head coach and 2 rings as an assistant coach with the New York Giants. Empire Maker's first crop after coming back from Japan. And we know he's got a lot of distance potential in that pedigree. The key thing here is after the flop the last time, they just kind of sent him to the lead, and he just overpowered the competition in this race. He was ridden to win, and he did just that. We don't really know what his running style is, but he just dominated the American Pharoah Stakes just with his class and his speed. He did get a little bit tired late, but again, that track was demanding. So I would say 8 rings, probably going to be the second favorite behind Dennis Moment in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. We've got the Keeneland Futurity this weekend. We'll see how they sort themselves out. And then also from Belmont, the 1-turn mile, the Champagne Stakes. Problem with that Champagne Stakes winner is they usually only go 1 mile. It's a 1-turn mile. And then they've got to ship across the country. So we'll see if a horse like Gozilla can bounce back. I think he may have kind of regressed off his big debut victory and didn't get enough out of it. We'll also see how Alpha 66 comes into that race, see if he can win. Governor Morris is going to be running at Keeneland. So we're going to really sort out the top 3-4 favorites for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and start to get a little bit of a gauge on what it's going to take this winter to upset those horses as the favorites for the Kentucky Derby. Dennis Moment continues to work out. He's doing well off of his victory, and he's going to train up to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Meanwhile, we'll see who wins at Keeneland and becomes one of the other top contenders for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So that's kind of it. Another big victory at Santa Anita on Sunday for a horse called Great Power, but I'm not so sure. It looks like they're going to point to the Los El Futurity for their next start and kind of bypass the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So we'll take you up to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and the Juvenile Fillies, along with the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks 2020. Remember, hit subscribe. We've got more race videos as we lead you up to the Breeders' Cup and the Kentucky Derby and Oaks 2020.